in church with us this morning. There's nothing quite like being in the presence of God, the atmosphere of God. Although it's very strange, it's a bit like a drive-through church, where we kind of come and go, there's no conversations, there's no mingling, we just come and go, there's no drinks. But hey, it's better than what we've been doing. And it's just good to be here this morning. Why don't you just give somebody a virtual high five this morning? A virtual high five. It's about as far as we can get to a hug and communication with flesh and human beings. But hey, it's okay, it's good. I want to talk this morning just for a few moments. And we're still in this whole season and subject of emerging well, leaving 2020 well, leaving this crisis well, leaving this problem well, leaving whatever fight or battle that we're in, leaving it well this morning, so emerging well. I want to talk this morning, just for a short while, I want to talk on the subject of walk away. Walk away. Obviously not right at this moment, because that would be awkward and embarrassing, and they could have a voice to go out the doors. But walk away. Maybe this message, and I don't know who this message is for this morning, but I do know it's for somebody, and maybe it's for somebody this morning who's in a dispute over something, who's in an argument or in a quarrel over something, arguing over something. Maybe like Job, there are people here or people watching and listening this morning, maybe like Job, there are people this morning in a dispute with God. And we all have them, saying things like, it's not fair, and saying things like, it's not me, saying things like, why us, why me, why us. And when this dispute, maybe with your life, like Job was over certain things, I want to talk this morning. And I want us to think about this week, I want to think about this morning, think about this week, thinking about choosing not to fight. Okay? Choosing not to fight. And it's kind of the opposite of what preachers normally tell people, and what churches normally tell people, what Christians normally sing about. We've already sang it this morning. It's exactly the opposite. It's choosing not to fight. When you have the right to fight. When you are justified in your disputing. When you believe that you are right with choosing not to fight. You got that minister this morning? It's about walking away, even though you were right. And I think, especially for Christians, and especially for believers, I think that is one of the hardest things to do, especially for people who are in the right this morning. Choosing to walk away. I preached a message quite a few years ago now. And I'm kind of repeating this thought again, but in a better way perhaps. Many years ago I preached on the subject of you can be right and still be wrong. And that's kind of the gist of it this morning. You see, as a father and as a pastor and as a leader and been in church all these years and with families, etc., I've seen too many prolonged arguments. I've seen too many arguments among people that couldn't be resolved quickly. I've seen too many drawn out fallouts. You know what I mean by that? I mean, come on, let's be honest this morning. Let's be real, even though we are believers and Christians this morning. We fall out, right? We fall out with people. We don't always agree with people. We argue with people. But I've seen too many drawn out fallouts. Fallouts that could have been resolved in one conversation, or fallouts that could have been resolved by simply somebody saying they're sorry, even though they're in the right. To stand up this morning. I've seen too many extended disputes. And we all have disputes. I don't know anybody yet that hasn't had a little bit of a dispute with God over God's decisions in some cases. Like why has 2020 been just a year when it seems like a lot of things have been wasted? Why, God? Like, why is the church being restricted? Why can't we express our worship in the Word? You know, all this kind of stuff that we all have disputes. I've seen too many continued conflicts where it goes on and on and on and on, a bit like some of the messages that I've preached here sometimes, where you just get on a rant, which I'm kind of on a bit of a one this morning. And I've got to tell you this morning, I'm not aware of anybody falling out. So I don't know where this message came from, or I don't know where it came from, I don't know who it's for. I'm not aware of any disputes. I'm certainly not in any kind of disputes. I'm not in any kind of arguments with anybody. All is peace and all is good, peace and goodwill to all men. So what I do know this morning is for somebody. Things that you thought were over and dealt with and done and dusted and buried and sorted. We good? Yes, we're good. Only for it not to be good. Only for it not to be okay. Only for it not to be over. Only for it to flare up. Again, you know, in the Bible, Esau and Jacob fell out for 20 years. Two word-believing, God-believing, promise-believing, God-serving men of God, brothers who fell out for 20, it took 20 years to heal the conflict. I wonder how many people have seen that in families, or seen that in churches, or seen that among friends, or people that you know, where it's just been an extended conflict. I mean, 20 years. Like the Gallagher brothers, otherwise known as Noel and Liam, otherwise known as Oasis, for those who aren't as trendy as what we do people are. I just read the other day that the Gallagher brothers haven't spoken for 10 years. I think that's so true. Haven't spoken for 10 years. Two of the best songwriters in the world, one of the best bands in the world, touring together. When they go and visit their mother, one walks in and one walks out. 10 years of not speaking. And I think when I see these things and when I read these things and I hear about these things, although not personally affected by this, I've discovered more and more that we need to learn to walk away. We need to learn to shorten arguments. Is anybody with me this morning before I read from the Bible? We need to cut out fallouts. We need to put a full stop to this speech, not a comma, where it's dragged on and on. We need to discontinue the conflict. We need just to learn in some situations and in some fights and in some battles and in some arguments and in some disputes, we need to learn to walk away before it's not too late. We need to learn to say sorry even though we are not the ones that are in the wrong before it's too late. Notice what I'm not saying this morning. I'm not saying walk away from the person. That's what I'm not saying this morning. I'm not saying walk away from the people, or walk away from the family, or walk away from the friends. What I'm saying this morning is to walk away from the fight. To step away from the fight. To walk away from the arguments. To walk away from disagreements. To walk away from the conflicts. Just to simply back down, not from the person, but from the conflict. I'm going to read something from 2 Samuel in a second, 2 Samuel 15. This is a story in the Old Testament about King David. And King David had a son called Absalom, and there was a huge falling out. This was a huge family dispute. And so Absalom gathered a lot of supporters together. This is called, in the Bible, it's called something called sedition, where where Absalom gathered people together, gathered people on his side to overthrow his father, the king. So it's a son trying to overthrow his father, the king. He's getting all these people together. So it's a family argument, it's a family fallout, it's a personal dispute, it's a relationship split, it's a church split, it's a kingdom split. So that's where this is coming from this morning. 2 Samuel 15 verses 13 and 14, and then through 25, 26. It says, "Now a messenger came to David saying, the hearts of the men of Israel are with Absalom, your son. So David said to all his servants who were with him at Jerusalem, arise and let us flee." In other words, walk away. "Or we shall not escape from Absalom. Make haste to depart." Just walk away, it says, "lest he overtake us suddenly and bring disaster upon us and strike," notice this, "and strike the city." Not strike me. Not strike me and my friends here. Not strike me personally. But strike the city for the sake of the city, for the sake of the kingdom with the edge of the sword. And in verse 25, it says that the king said to Zadok, one of his men, "Carry the ark of God back into the city." In other words, take the presence of God back into the city. Listen to this. "If I find favour in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me back and show me both it and his dwelling place." Verse 26. "But if he says, I have no delight in you," David simply says, "Here I am. Let him do to me as seems good to him." And I just think this morning, that is an awesome way. That is a kingly way. That is a Christian way to deal with conflict, to deal with arguments, to deal with strife, to deal with battles concerning people. And simply, what David's saying is, let's just leave it to God. I'm going to read verse 26 again. He says, "If God says, I have no delight in you," in other words, I'm not choosing you, David, I'm choosing somebody else. If I have no delight in you, David simply says, in complete surrender, I can imagine with his arms outstretched, "Here I am. Let God do to me as seems good to him." In other words, whatever God decides will be right. I think if we can only get to that state, if we can only get to that kind of heart, if we can get to that kind of spirit, church, we will emerge much better from things. Much better from all our whinging and whining and complaining and fighting and striving and stressing and potential heart attacks and potential strokes and potential high blood pressure. It would save us a load of hassle. I can't be bothered. I'm not. I was going to say I'm getting home, but I'm not really getting home. I saw somebody late. I tell you what, I've seen so many ridiculous fights and arguments and fallouts. I really can't be bothered with the stress. I really can't be bothered with the hassle. And I think if we can only get to the point that David got to with this battle, whatever God decides will be right. Here I am, he says. Here I am, whatever God decides will be right. Can you get to that point this morning over what you're praying for? Can you get to that point this morning over what you're believing for? Can you get to that point this morning over what you're striving with God for, and arguing with God for, falling out with God for it, in the huff with God for it, and falling out with people for, and falling out with family for? Whatever God decides will be right. If I can get to that point, whatever God's decision is, I'm okay with it. Here I am. And that's really where I'm coming from this morning. This really is for somebody who's in a dispute, an argument, a fallout, and maybe it's an extended fallout. Maybe you haven't spoken to somebody for so long, or you're still falling out with somebody, or you're still arguing with somebody this morning. if we can get to the point where we walk away from it, and whatever God wants is good with me, whether I agree with it or not, whether I am having a praise party of what God is doing or not. David says, here I am. Let him do what seems good to him. Can somebody agree with me this morning that that's a much better way? That's a much better way. It's a much better way to emerge. It's a much better way to face conflicts and arguments and strife and hassle and battles and fallouts and sedition and all that kind of thing. If I'm going to emerge from 2020 well, which I am still determined, we've only got a few weeks left, folks, to wave goodbye to this amazing year. Only a few weeks left, a few more days, and I am determined to leave 2020 well, to leave it strong, to leave it with more faith than I came into 2020 with, to leave it with a bigger vision than what I came into 2020 with, to leave with a stronger faith and a bigger spirit and a bigger heart and a bigger passion and a bigger confidence in God than when I entered 2020. If I'm going to do that, I need to leave with my peace intact. I cannot leave 2020 well if my heart and my peace have been broken. I can't. I'll be taking 2020 right into 2021, and nobody wants to do that this year. Nobody wants to take the remnants of 2020 into 2020. When we come into 2021, it's a brand new start, it's a brand new year. There is light at the end of the tunnel, Boris says. And if Boris says, but I'm glad it's not just the word of Boris this morning, church. I'm glad this morning it's actually the word of God this morning, because His mercies are new every morning. When we wake up on January 1st, 2021, it's a new morning, it's a new year, it's new mercies, it's new vision. But if I'm going to leave this year well, I need to learn to walk away from something. To walk away and protect my peace. And I've got to point this out. I've got 3 hashtags next to this, which means it's important. David didn't walk away from his son. He didn't walk away from Absalom. Not like one of those dramatic scenes that you see on TV, like when people have arguments and they walk out, they slam the door, and it's big dramatic exit. David didn't walk out on his son, he walked out on the arguments. He walked away from the argument. He walked away from the dispute. He walked away from the confrontation because of the consequences that confrontation would have on the kingdom, on the church, on the kingdom, on the family of God. Let me get to a point before we finish in 10 minutes. Number one this morning is this, and this is so important. I've seen this so many times. Number one, I can win the dispute, I can win the arguments, I can win the debates, I can win the fight, but the victory will be sour. I have seen too many. In actual fact, I've been involved in too many as a leader in this church over almost 15 years next month. I've seen too many victories that have been sour. Victories I have won and victories we have won and victories some of you have won, that we won the dispute and we won the arguments and we were in the right, but the victory tasted sour. You see, I don't want to emerge from 2020 or from any fight or any debate or any argument feeling guilty. And I've seen it so many times. Feeling shame. I don't want to go into 2021 feeling any kind of shame over an argument that I won. I don't want to go into 2021 feeling any kind of regret because I won the argument and it tastes sour. Because I won without the expense of peace. I don't think any argument is worth winning at the expense of my peace. Is that wisdom? Is that right? Is that common sense this morning? At the expense, I don't want to win an argument that's at the expense of a relationship with somebody. I think some relationships are too precious and too priceless for me to win the argument, but for it to taste sour and for me to lose the relationship, to lose the family, to lose the kingdom. Listen to this. Make a note of this morning. It's better to walk away. It's better to walk away and taste sweet peace than taste sour victory. It's better to walk away and taste sweet peace than taste sour victory. You know, a few weeks ago we were in this building. I can't even remember who was involved or what happened, but it was quite funny. And I don't know who it was, but somebody was handing out sweets. And you had this white bag of sweets. I think Jay was involved, a few other people were involved, and white people being nothing was involved, I'm quite sure. She's looking innocent, but I think this night she's feeling guilty. I think you were involved somewhere, and Dave was involved. And somebody was handing out sweets, which looked nice. Tasty, the pennies dropping now, yes. Sweet and tasty, little bonbons, little nice sweets, but they were sour. And so they're handing them out to people and saying, oh, taste this. That's sweet, okay. And within 2 seconds, the looks on some people's faces as they bit into the sweet. Because it was, I didn't taste what they said, but it was sour, and the faces were like twisted and wretched, and some people even spit them out as soon as they got in their mouths. Because it looked nice, but it tasted sour. There's nothing worse than tasting something sour that looks nice. Have you done that? The milk that's been off for a week. There's now got bits floating on the top. Maybe something like that, I don't know, something like a bit weird, kind of like, might make something rich. But you see, that's what a sour victory tastes like. That's what a sour win tastes like. That's what a sour rice tastes like. Well, I'm right. I'm right, but it's making me feel sour. It's making me taste sour. A victory won by bullying, or a victory won by intimidation, or a victory that's won by cheating or lies is a sour win. When we twist the truth to win, it's a sour win. It is much better to walk away with peace that tastes so sweet. And you know, I was in the right, and I walked away. I could have brought that person down, but I chose to walk away. I could have beaten that person up with arguments and with debate and with my rights, but I chose to walk away. I'll tell you something, church, that tastes so much sweeter than beating somebody up and beating somebody down with words and continuing conflict and continuing arguments, which will leave us with a sour taste. It's better to protect my peace than lose my peace by protecting my ego, or by protecting my reputation, or protecting my fame or position. You see, I'm going to finish this in a few minutes. Keyboards, if you don't mind, that'd be great. Just for a dramatic effect at the end. David, the great king. King David, the great king. The great warrior, the great leader, the great giant slayer, the famous Some of you this morning are real fighters. You are fighters. You are strong. You have a history of beating things. And you don't back down from anything. There are people here watching this who don't back down from things. You face things head on. You've never backed away from a confrontation, and never backed away from a conflict, and never backed away from a fight, and never backed away from an argument, just like David. And the Bible tells you that King David had the power, he had the numbers to bring down his son. His army could have overwhelmed his son. His army could have won the victory against his son who was wrong. But if David had done that, if David had used all his power and all his strength and all his might in bringing down his son, he would have won, but the victory would have tasted sour. David, the great fighter, walked away from the fight with his son for the sake of the kingdom, for the sake of his family, for the sake of his own peace. In verse 14 he said this, I hesitated on this in verse 14. He said, I'm walking away from this fight, lest he overtake us. Lest he overtake us and bring disaster on us and strike the city, strike the kingdom. And I've got to say to somebody this morning, if the dispute is threatening your peace, if the dispute is threatening the peace of your family and the peace of the kingdom, the peace of the city, then walk away this morning. As much as it's not in you to do it, back down. I'm saying that this morning, and I don't know why I'm saying it, but I know I need to say to somebody this morning, although it's not your nature, although it's not your history, although it's not your spirit, although it's not how you do things, I'm saying to somebody for the sake of your peace, the peace of your family, the peace of the kingdom, the peace of the city, back down and leave it to God. Leave it to God. Leave it to God. Notice this. Don't walk out. Walk away. Don't walk out on people, and don't walk out on friendships, and don't walk out on family. Don't walk out on your dreams. Walk away. Step back. Give it space. And maybe there are people this morning who just need to walk away from a fight. I know it's not in you. I know. As Christians, it's not in us to walk away from a fight. I'm not backing down, the song said, from any giants. And yet there are times, like with King David in the story, when he said to his people, this time, I think it's time to walk away. I think it's time to back down. I think it's time to back off. I think it's time to walk away from the fight. And that's something in us, isn't it? Go on, bring anything you want and we'll take it down. But sometimes it's time to walk away from a fight and walk into peace. You know, a few weeks ago before lockdown, we were it's confession time now. We were childminding while down the middle of work, only for an hour. I think it's about an hour. And we had Caleb and Faith in our house for an hour. And I was in the kitchen, just making a drink, and Faith walked in to the kitchen. And she just looked at me and she said, Papa, you haven't got any hair. And so as quick as you like, need you to savor the sour victory. I just laughed to myself about how mature were you. That was so mature there. That was so spiritual. But you know, sometimes we need to be good like Faith. I've no doubt she can prolong the argument. No doubt she can talk for a minute, but she chose to walk away. You know, at the end of this story, I'm not going to read, but I'm going to finish now. The end of the story is that Absalom was searching for his father, David, to kill him, so he could become king himself over the kingdom. And the end of the story is that Absalom, who had long hair, was riding on his horse, and his hair got tangled in the branch of a tree and was killed. You see, the point of that is that David won a battle that he walked away from. Come on, some of you this morning, you need to walk away from the battle. God is going to give you the victory when you walk away. He's not going to give you the victory when you're fighting and scolding and shouting and complaining and scrapping and battling, using loud voice and huffing and puffing. God's going to give you the victory. God's going to give you the win this morning as you back down. As you walk away. Let God take care of it. Can you come to that point this morning where you surrender to God? Like David did and say, well, here I am. If you find in my favor, God, great. If you don't find in my favor, and I am wrong even though I think I'm right, here I am. I surrender this to you. Can we just stand this morning? Can we just stand? Isn't it so good just being in church? Just being able to come into a place with no distractions, a place that we've got it's just a little bit of heaven in a world that's going crazy and mad and confused and panicking. It's just good this morning. A few of us are here, and those watching and listening this morning, it's just good to be here. And I know that message this morning was for somebody. I don't know who, I don't know why, but I do know it's for somebody. Will you back down? Will you walk away from the thing that you know that you are right in? And that's tough. I'm going to continue this next week. That takes courage. That takes character. But I think God showed us in this story between David and Absalom that you don't always have to fight to win. You can walk away and still win. And the taste is sweet peace. Some of you need that this morning. Come on, let's pray before we finish. Before wife comes up for a second. Father, I pray for people this morning. I don't know who that word was for, but I pray that word will not return void. I pray that word will go to somebody's heart this morning, somebody's spirit, somebody's home, somebody's house, somebody's situation this morning. That God will learn from this. That will emerge from this year, not with regrets and not with a sour taste in our mind because we've got a victory at someone's expense. But we will learn this morning like King David. Although it's not in us normally, we'll walk away. We'll back down. We'll back off. And let you be God. Let you decide. Let your righteousness prevail. And we pray that this morning that you are a good God. You are a righteous God. Never see the righteous forsaken or a seed begging for bread. That's the kind of God you are this morning.